In this lesson, we will complete the modeling of the panels and explore new modeling commands that are essential when building a 3D model. At the end, through an appropriate verification procedure, we will check the accuracy of the final model. Let's make sure that the working mode is set to object mode. Select the top panel of the mesh and set the view to solid. Press the slash key on the numeric keypad to isolate its geometry, temporarily hiding the other parts of the model. To better see what is missing from the selected model, we need to position the view underneath the panel. It is clearly noticeable that the bottom face is completely missing. Let's see how to proceed to properly close this part. Switch the working mode to edit mode, and set the view so that we can better observe the construction lines. The first goal is to remove the internal loop cuts to achieve a cleaner geometry. Set the selection mode to edge by pressing the 2 key on the keyboard or by selecting the corresponding icon located at the top left of the 3D view. Instead of selecting the lines that define the loop cuts one by one, we can make this operation much simpler and faster. Hold down the Alt key while left-clicking on the first loop cut, for example, the one on the short left side of the panel. This way, the entire loop cut will be selected in one go. While holding down Alt, also press the Shift key and, still using the left mouse button, select the other 3 loop cuts. Press the Punch key and from the menu that appears, choose the Dissolve Edges option. Blender will remove the selected edges without deleting the faces connected to them, thus keeping the geometry intact. However, I'd like to show you what would have happened if we had selected the Edges option, a command that completely removes the edges instead of Dissolve Edges. Let's go back for a moment and repeat the loop cut deletion step, this time selecting the Edges option. As we can see, by completely removing the edges with this command, we get an undesired result, since the connected faces are deleted, creating a gap in the model. Let's restore the correct modification and reposition the view from underneath the panel. To create the missing face, we'll use a loop selection. Hold down the Alt key and left-click on any of the edges. Press the F key to close the panel. Let's return to object mode and press the slash key on the numeric keypad to restore the full view of the model. Now select the lower panel of the mesh and press the slash key. You can immediately see that the top face is completely missing. Let's switch to edit mode and set an optimal view to better observe the construction lines. The first step is to delete the internal loop cuts. While holding down the Alt key, select the first loop cut. Keeping Alt pressed, also hold down the Shift key and select the other 3 loop cuts. Now press the Punch key and choose the Dissolve Edges option. Let's go back to viewing the panel from above and repeat the same loop selection we did for the top panel. So while holding down the Alt key, select any of the edges and press F to close the geometry. Switch the display mode to object mode and press the slash key. Having finished modeling the horizontal panels, let's now focus on the vertical side panels on the left and right. Let's start with the left panel. Select it and press the slash key. If we rotate the view around the model, we immediately notice that 3 closing faces are missing here. The procedure remains almost identical to what we've done so far. Switch to edit mode and delete the internal loop cuts of the panel. In this case, the loop cuts are simply single lines since they're on a flat plane. Therefore, to select them, just left-click on the first one and hold Shift to select the second. Press the Punch key and choose the Dissolve Edges option. To close the panel, since in this case the edges are not connected to each other, we need to use pairwise selections. So, select a pair of opposite edges and press the F key to create the missing face. Select the second pair and press F again to create the second face as well. As for creating the third face, we can use the same technique we used to create the missing faces of the top and bottom panels. Because by creating the second face, we have effectively connected the remaining edges to each other. So, while holding down the Alt key, click on any of these edges to perform a loop selection, then, using the F key, insert the corresponding face. Switch the display mode to object mode and press the slash key. Select the right vertical side panel. The procedure is exactly the same as the one we just performed for the left panel. Let's quickly review it together. Select the right panel and press the slash key. Switch the working mode to edit mode and select the inner loop cuts. Press the punch key and click on Dissolve Edges. Select the first set of edges and press F. Select the second set and press F again. Hold down the Alt key while left-clicking on one of the remaining edges to perform a loop selection and press F to create the third face. Switch the display mode to object mode and press the slash key. At this point, we just need to finish modeling the two panels, front and back. Let's start with the front one. Select it and press the slash key. Here we are faced with a new situation since the panel is nothing more than a simple plane. Let's see how to proceed. Set the working mode to edit mode, but this time select all the edges by pressing the A key. Press the E key, which stands for extrude, and without pressing anything else, move the mouse to the right or left. You'll see that Blender physically assigns a thickness to the plane. In our case, move the mouse to the left and release it at a certain point, confirming the position with the left mouse button. Set the correct value by opening the dialog window at the bottom left and entering -1 cm in the corresponding field. Actually, this operation could have been simplified by immediately entering the extrusion value when we applied the E command. So let's go back a few steps to the selection of all the edges. Press E and immediately type in the value of 1 cm. The extrusion is performed outward from the plane. We need to apply it inward. So, let's press the minus key to tell Blender to invert the thickness. Then press Enter to confirm. Change the display mode to object mode and press the slash key. Now, with the panel still selected, press GY, want to move it 1 cm inward into the sideboard. We perform this operation to create a 1 cm space where the doors and drawers of the sideboard will be housed. The back panel is left. Let's select it and press the slash key. Set the working mode to edit mode and select all the edges by pressing the A key. Press E and enter the value 1. Here too, Blender directs the thickness outward, so we press the minus key to invert its orientation and confirm with the Enter key. Let's change the display mode to object mode and press the slash key. Good, we have finished modeling all the panels of the sideboard. What we will do now is a normals check operation, a fundamental step in the 3D modeling process, often underestimated despite its importance. Normals are vectors perpendicular to the surfaces of meshes, essential for determining how light interacts with objects. This interaction directly affects textures and materials, defining the final visual quality of the model. Keeping the normals correctly oriented is crucial to avoid rendering issues, such as visual distortions or lighting errors. Therefore, implementing a systematic check of normals after modeling is essential to ensure the integrity and effectiveness of the final rendering. For checking normals, Blender provides us with an excellent and practical tool. Let's make sure we are in object mode and in solid view mode. Click on the downward pointing arrow icon. To open the Overlays menu, scroll down and activate the checkbox for face orientation. The mesh model is now displayed in two colors, blue and red. Elements that are correctly modeled are colored blue, while those whose normals are not properly oriented are colored red. Let's see how to solve the problem. Select the panels colored in red, which correspond to the front and back ones. Switch to Edit mode and press the A key to select all their components. Press Shift+N to instantly correct the direction of the normals. Return to Object mode and deselect everything. Reopen the Overlays menu and uncheck the box for face orientation. Given the importance of normals, it might be useful for us to create a shortcut to quickly access the face orientation command. Reopen the Overlays menu and place the mouse cursor over the face orientation option. Right-click and then select Add to Quick Favorites. From this moment on, Whenever we need to access the face orientation command, simply pressing the Q key will immediately activate the normals check. In the same way, that is, by pressing the Q key, we can quickly deactivate the command. This lesson is also finished, and as always, let's save the file incrementally. In the next lesson, we will tackle the modeling of the two side doors and the central drawers of the sideboard.